My name is Ben van Tongeren, and I'm the Director of Customer Success for Lightcast here in APAC, and I'm delighted to be presenting this webinar to you today. Also presenting with me is Daniel Leadbeater, our VP of Operations in APAC. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, please put them in the questions box in the GoToMeeting control panel, and we'll endeavour to get to those at the end of the presentation. We'll be sharing the recording and slides for today in a follow-up email, so please keep your eyes open for that. We appreciate you taking the time to be here and hope the information provided today provokes some thought and insight into the data we produce at Lightcast to illuminate the labour market and allow organisations like yours to navigate trends and make data-driven decisions in your organisations. So today, we'll explore the diverse ways you can access and utilise Lightcast data and potentially broaden your awareness of real-time labour market data and enhance your strategies within different areas of your organisations. We'll start with a brief summary of our data for those who are not familiar with where we source it and what we do with it. We'll then look at our software solutions, Labour Insight and Analyst, and discuss how these tools can and are being used to enhance services and processes within various departments and organisations and region. We're going to focus mostly today on educational client use cases. However, for those of you in government, workforce development, etc., there'll be a lot of crossover here that will be relevant to your roles. Having discussed our software, we'll then demonstrate how our global labour market data can be used to identify trends happening offshore that may make their way to our own regions, allowing us to get ahead of the curve, be better prepared for demand changes in region, and respond to these changes in informed ways. I'm then going to hand over to Daniel, who's going to talk about dashboarding options, Snowflake, data feeds, and API solutions, before answering some questions and closing for the day. Daniel will also take the opportunity to introduce our latest acquisition to the Lightcast family, eImpact, a no-code data visualization service that offers another valuable tool in our ever-growing toolbox of solutions. The webinar today will take approximately 45 minutes, and we thank you again for your time. We'll start today by giving you a brief overview of Lightcast data. Our data is generated from job postings, collected from over 51,000 sources globally, over 4,000 sources across Australia and New Zealand, and over 1,500 sources in Singapore, including job boards, company websites, staffing agencies, etc. Our data in APAC goes back to 2012, which enables us to observe changes in occupations and skills over time, creating a real-time portrait of labour market demand and allowing us to enhance data literacy and gain insights into the labour market. Ultimately, it provides the opportunity to identify and track important labour market trends as they happen. Once we've collected our postings, we then distill the data, removing about 80% of what we collect, taking out duplicates, scam postings, and other sources that aren't relevant. Our software then extracts top-line information about each job, such as title, employer, and industry, and then we code out more specific data points like job titles, skills, qualifications, pay scale, and more. Finally, we present this data via our many software and data solutions, which we're here to discuss today. Many of you on the webinar today are familiar with Labour Insight, our software tool that enables our partners to analyse labour market data within Australia, New Zealand, and Singapore. Some of you may also be aware that we offer access to our data in other regions such as the US, UK, and Canada via another software tool called Analyst. Although the user interfaces and functionality differ between the two, the underlying data and possibilities are largely the same, and a number of clients in region retain access to both tools. Both Labour Insight and Analyst offer a number of advantages. The software provides an intuitive user interface to interact with and interrogate our data, and you can do this easily with predefined reports while also having the ability to create your own queries and reports. These are then easily shared with internal stakeholders or exported from the software for further analysis or use in data visualization tools. The software tools offer predefined workflows and have a number of reports that are very easily generated. For example, some of you may be familiar with our Labour Insight snapshot reports. which provide a broad amount of information targeted towards specific workflows and require very little upfront. For many clients in APAC, this is the simplest and most effective way to interact with and utilize our data, particularly when there's no immediate need for outward-facing dashboards. For those use cases, we offer some other solutions that we'll discuss later in the session. We'll focus predominantly on Labour Insight today, but do get in touch with myself or Daniel if you'd like to see Analyst in action at some stage. Today, I'm going to walk you through 3 scenarios in the education space within our most commonly engaged departments: curriculum design, marketing, and careers and employability. Although most of you will be using our software, you may not be using it across other parts of your institutions and may not even be aware of the application our software applies itself to in those departments. So let's change that today. And we'll start with one of our most popular use cases, curriculum design. Again, although we'll be looking at cases through an educational lens today, all of these workflows can be applied in workforce development, talent management, and in a government context. In this example, we'll demonstrate how Lightcast data can be used to validate a potential program offering by assessing demand from an occupational and geographical perspective, and ensure we have the data to show potential students that they have a positive career ahead of them. We can show them that the course will prepare them for success, help them understand what they expect to be paid, what skills they need to develop and prioritize, and what other opportunities might await them with the qualification earned. In this scenario, I'm looking at creating a program of study within the aerospace engineering industry at either diploma or bachelor level in Australia. As with many of our data inquiries, it's a good practice to start with what you know. So I've started here by identifying 3 occupations that I believe the program would support. And the first thing I'd like to ensure is that there's demand for these occupations, particularly in areas where I have my campuses. You'll see in the filters at the top that I've selected a broad time period of 2020 to 2024 to bring in more data, and I've searched in Australia for those 3 occupations. By running a time series report within Labour Insight, I'm able to view the demand for these occupations over time, and I can see there's been a steady increase, particularly over the last 4 years. This is a good sign. So it's worth now looking at the demand trends in different regions. Here I've altered the time series report to show me the top 5 locations showing the most demand, and I can see Melbourne and Sydney in particular growing rapidly, making these great spots to consider initially rolling out the program. Now I need to find out whether there's demand for this course of study in the bachelor or diploma level, so we view this data set through an education report. This shows us that predominantly employees in this space require a certificate level qualification. However, there's still demand for the bachelor's level qualification, with over 22% of postings requiring this. Within the time series report, we're also able to observe what industries are looking for these workers, which enables us, if required, to consider industry partners we may want to target. We can do the same with top employers to provide more intelligence into where our students may end up working. Not surprisingly, we see a number of airlines in the top employers list. Good to see the Royal Flying Doctor Service of Australia here also, just in case those students have goals to work for the regional areas in Australia as part of that historical organisation. Now that we have enough information to decide whether to pursue this program, we can then look at what we should be training our students in their course of study. Lightcast offers a number of skills-centric reports, providing the ability to make data-driven decisions, ensuring students are learning the skills that are in demand within today's labour market. Here we see a side-by-side report showing the changes in skill demand for these occupations from 2020 to 2024. We can see that international traffic and arms regulation skills have made a big stride in terms of demand, now being requested in over 15% of postings, whereas in 2020, they were only requested in approximately 9% of postings. Engineering documentation has also increased markedly, with only 3.4% of postings requesting the skill in 2020, growing to 10.5% in 2023. Having this data available allows us to build our curriculum in a way that prepares students for the skills they need when they graduate and enter the workforce. The skill volatility report was added to Labour Insight last year and provides a really clean visual depiction of skill demand over time. This Sankey chart has proven to be really popular and is often used to demonstrate curriculum considerations to faculty heads and management. The industry skill demand report enables you to dig deeper into the skills requested in different industries, while the occupation skill demand report gives you that same intelligence but shows skill demand difference for each occupation. If you're joining us today from government or maybe the workforce development sector, you'll see we've learned a lot about this niche area. However, this is also a useful way to identify how and where we can fulfill occupation or skill shortages. You can also see skill demand in a skill cluster context to provide a more broad perspective of areas of importance. This can assist in creating priorities for curriculum design and give us a wider context of what's important in our curriculum considerations. Using the skills projection report, you're also able to identify how skills are likely to change over time from both an individual and skill cluster perspective. Here we can see AI growing rapidly as a skill, but very rarely requested for these particular occupations. However, system design and implementation has growing demand and is requested in nearly half of all job postings for these occupations. Finally, we can also observe which skills draw a salary premium. Salary premiums are a great proxy for shortage of supply in the market. Employers are offering a higher rate of pay if aerospace engineers require systems engineering, planning, research, and communication skills when contrasted against postings that don't request those skills. Again, for attendees today from government or workforce development sectors, these premiums are great mechanisms to identify skill gaps and area of priority for workers in this space. So what have we learned? Firstly, start with what you know. When you're embarking on a line of inquiry using Lightcast data, begin with areas you already understand. So in the example I used, I started by choosing a selection of occupations I knew would fit into my area of interest. From there, I was able to distill my parameters and then observe my data set through various lenses and reports. Demand in this case can be considered from different perspectives. So we looked at demand from a regional perspective, what education level was being requested by employers for these occupations, and who the key industries and employers were. We used time series and comparative reports to observe demand changes over time and assess demand trends. And we were then able to see those signals to align our program with what the labour market or employers are actually looking for. So the data helps us make decisions confidently. It ensures we can both attract and meet the needs of potential students and design programs that prepare them for success. Let's look at marketing. So having validated a new program offering and optimizing the curriculum with real-time skills demand data, we're now able to market our products more effectively. We can communicate the value of the course and illustrate to students and potential students that your institute's going to teach them the skills they need to make them stand out to employers. Much of what we've already explored is highly valuable to marketing teams also, allowing them to identify areas that can make a program in an institution stand out above the rest. Demand indicators can help justify a decision, and the data surrounding the research gives us the ability to craft an effective marketing strategy and targeted campaigns with clear value propositions. So let's expand on how our software can support marketing teams. Lightcast data can illustrate the potential return on investment both for curriculum developers and potential students by answering questions like, how has demand changed for an occupation? What's the average starting salary for someone within an occupation? Is there a salary premium associated with certain skills within that occupation? And what other occupations can I apply these skills in? In this example, I've chosen the occupation of agricultural scientist, and again searched that period of 2020 to 2024 within Australia. Looking at the postings from the last few years, I can see there's a requirement for either bachelor level or in some cases even postgraduate level qualifications for this occupation. I can see again via a time series report that the demand for this occupation has been growing over time and has in fact accelerated its rate of demand growth recently. We're of course able to look at the skills required in the occupation and ensure our curriculum's aligned with the demands of the labour market, which means we can demonstrate that as an institution we understand the market and we're preparing our students for success accordingly. We have tons of levers to pull here, so we know we have the ability to provide a level of assurance to potential students that would otherwise elude us without access to real-time labour market data. We can tell them what they expect to earn, who their employers will likely be, attract them to campuses where there's known industry demand, assure them that they'll be ready with the skills they need to be attractive to the market when they graduate, and much more. So hopefully what you've seen here is there is clear cross-pollination between the work done in curriculum design and the resulting value for marketing teams. With good data, we can ensure that program offerings stand out to potential students, giving us the ability to craft a legitimate message that we understand the needs of the workforce they'll meet upon graduation. This also allows marketing teams to create effective, targeted, and data-backed marketing campaigns to attract students to specific courses of study. Using labour market data, we're able to demonstrate that we have visibility of market trends and therefore are able to prepare our students for success. We can show the skills required, salary expectations, observed demand in region to decide whether programs should or shouldn't be created at a specific campus. And we can demonstrate clearly how a program can help students achieve their career goals. Another popular use case for our software is within careers and employability. Again, within the education context, it provides a powerful tool to help students develop their career plans and provides careers and employability departments and staff the tools to better support their students. If a student has a clear career goal in mind, then with Labour Insight, practitioners can provide them with an individual learning development plan to keep them on the path to success. This means they can see which skills they already have, where they have skill gaps, allowing them to confidently stay on their career paths, assuring them that they are achieving the right goals, or helping them find courses that fill skill gaps that have been identified. This data is useful within the educational context, but can be used in many other environments and organisations. The more data available to people, the better for everyone. It empowers us to make better decisions in our lives. Using Lightcast software, you can provide students with answers that are data-driven and indicative of real-time trends in the market. So some of the questions you could readily answer include: what occupations could a course of study lead to? What demand is there for those occupations? Who are the top employers? What skills are in demand? And where are the jobs located? If you can understand the landscape of your labour market, you're able to provide a more transparent path to career success. And Lightcast gives you the tools to guide a student to relevant courses that can put them on that path. Lightcast has had the pleasure of partnering with the University of Melbourne since 2017, and they use our data regularly within their careers and employability department. Last year, we were lucky enough to do a case study with the university, and we spoke to the then Manager of Careers and Employability, Megan Dench, about their use of Lightcast data to support students in their career planning and course selection. The team recognised through research that the concept of a career could be a bit nebulous for students, something they wouldn't necessarily focus on until they were maybe nearing the end of their studies. So the careers and employability team set a goal to make that discussion relevant early, no matter where the students saw themselves at the time. A really important facet of that solution was to begin to produce study area reports like the one pictured on the right there. These are run every year across 115 plus qualifications, and they're designed to provide both insights directly to the students, but also serve as a great conversation starter in career appointments. They're distributed on an internal platform for students to access at any time and provide really valuable insights into the employers that are hiring, the key job titles, annual demand change, and the skills in demand. So let's look briefly at some of the most common ways to explore career options in labour insight. The Occupation Analysis Snapshot Report provides a wealth of knowledge for individuals wanting to explore options and insights related to their career. So as you see here, we can clearly identify information such as average demand for an occupation, projected growth, salary expectation, experience, education and certifications commonly requested, and top skills. We can then explore those skills in more detail, providing insights into the skills most commonly requested, and also those which potentially offer a salary premium. We can then dig deeper into these skills, observe projected growth, and analyse these further. Here in Australia, we can observe difference in demand across different states to see where salaries are higher or lower and how demand varies in different regions. Another wonderful facet of this report is you can find related jobs that share common skills. So this shows us what other opportunities are available to students or for those already in the workforce where potential career pathways might lie. If we select a related job, we're then given comparative reports showing us the differences in posting counts, educational requirements, experience, and salary. Finally, the report provides a skills gap analysis, showing us which skills would need to be developed or learned to transition from one role to another. So Lightcast data is incredibly valuable when it comes to assisting students in their career pathways. It makes it clear to see the opportunities ahead and gain insight into the market ahead by giving them visibility of the key requirements and demands in their chosen field. It also instructs individuals to see what areas they should focus on. So they're likely employers and industries, what they should expect to earn, what parts of the country are going to be most fruitful, and what skills they may need to add to their skill set to ensure they're competitive in the market. All of this can provide a much needed level of assurance at any stage of their study. If they're exploring qualifications, they can discover which occupations they're drawn to and clearly see the opportunities ahead and prepare themselves to be attractive to employers. For students who are having doubts about their choices, we can open the door to other opportunities and show them a pathway to success in other related fields. Last year, we hosted a webinar in July using international data trends to get ahead of the curve, in which we looked at using Lightcast's global labour market data to explore skill trends from geographies outside of APAC. And we use this in comparison with domestic data to show how we can observe trends that may be making their way to our shores. In this webinar, we saw multiple examples of trends emerging in the US and the UK that were then replicated in ANZ, in some cases up to 4 years later. So if we utilise these insights, we can better structure solutions for workers training in these fields and prepare them more effectively for the skills that are going to be in demand as opposed to the skills that they may traditionally have been taught. This provides a unique competitive advantage for educators or organisations by allowing them to make data-driven decisions regarding how they train and develop their students or workers. I'd like to today just show you a couple of quick examples of findings we came across during this research, where offshore trends gave us an opportunity to see incoming trends ahead of time. In this example, we looked at the trends for Adobe Photoshop skills for graphic designers in both the US and ANZ. Here we can see a clear decrease in demand for the skill in the US from 2012, but the decrease wasn't noticeable in ANZ until 2016, 4 years later. We saw many examples of this delay period, particularly when observing technology-centric skill demand, where the US tends to lead the way in terms of demand trends. ANZ commonly follows a similar pattern around 3 to 4 years later. We also see another period of decline in demand for the US for this skill from 2019, while in ANZ, we see a clear increase in demand from the same period. Although it wouldn't be a clear choice to follow the US trends and start to look at alternative technologies to train, it's a trend that would be worth following in the coming years and may provide some context to make changes to curriculum as other alternative technologies emerge from the US. In this example, we had a look at the demand trend for Python skills for software engineers in both the US and ANZ. What we can see here is strong demand growth in Python skills globally and steady growth in demand from the US year on year. There's a slightly less consistent growth path for ANZ, with a large increase in the 2020 to 2022 period. So what could we learn here? Well, during the 2014 to 18 period, there's clear growth in the US. And then we see the demand spike in ANZ occur noticeably later in 2021. If we were looking at this from an education or economic growth perspective, we could take the market indicators from the US, learn from them, and apply those learnings to our own strategies and goals. For educators, it would make sense to observe these trends offshore and pivot to train software engineers with those skills growing in demand to ensure they're prepared for future requirements of their roles. So we've gone through our software solutions today and demonstrated how they can be utilized in different ways, in different departments, and also with the use of global data. Hopefully some of these you hadn't thought of, and maybe things you might want to consider in the future. We have a number of tools available to disseminate knowledge at greater scale and efficiency. And I'll now hand over to Daniel, who's going to talk to you about our APIs, Snowflake, and data feed solutions.
Thanks, Ben. Something I find interesting is just how versatile Labour Insight and job postings data in general is. The workflows that you've demonstrated today are relevant not just to the education providers, but also the data pool is also particularly valuable to policymakers, workforce development agencies, and a whole host of other use cases. For example, thinking back to your example with the avionics technician, the same data could be really usefully used by Boeing and Qantas at the moment to find better talent to install hinges on their plane doors, as an example. Similarly, the changes in the skills and demand for agricultural scientists are highly relevant to government bodies when looking at the high-level strategy of helping fill industry demand. If migration is the key to meeting those needs, then what skills do those migrants need in order to meet local demand? If building that skill supply within the country is the answer, then knowing what skills to incentivize is key to achieving a successful policy intervention. So really, really helpful, very versatile data. But I digress, and today I'm here to speak about the number of ways that clients can access our data outside those web apps or web applications of Analyst and Labour Insight. Well, as Ben's already alluded to, why might we want to do this? Well, Labour Insight is a fantastic tool to pull data insights from, and as Ben's just demonstrated. But what if we want to disseminate this analysis to a wider audience? What if we need to visualize these insights to a wide group of stakeholders? What if we want to dive deeper into the data that Labour Insight enables? And what if we want to build out a product that includes the data that Labour Insight shows? This is where our dashboarding, job feed, and API products come in. Firstly, Lightcast just recently acquired eImpact, a leader in the field of no-code dashboard solutions. This is a great option for presenting a standard dashboard in a plug-and-play manner. eImpact dashboards can be embedded into your own environment and cover our most impactful data elements. Ben, if you could just go to the next slide. Thanks. Nice. The example we've pulled through here is of a dashboard created for a workforce development agency with the purpose of giving a high-level trend information to a wide non-technical audience. And here we can see some high-level industry characteristic trends and occupation trends for an area in the US. These dashboards can be hosted in your website and represent the quickest path from project start to delivery, often taking less than 2 months from woe to go, which is really cool. The second option, if we can go to the next slide, please, Ben. The second dashboard option is to connect your existing Power BI dashboards to our data set. Now, this doesn't have to be Power BI. I'm using this as an example, but it could be Tableau or any other data visualization package that you might be using. And this enables your existing dashboards to be enhanced by the same data that is present in Lightcast. A connection from the data visualization tool to our Snowflake environment means that your team can build out a customized dashboard that is tailored to your needs. This is a great option for teams that have Power BI skills and want to scale their efforts within using the Lightcast data to disseminate that knowledge more broadly. We have a number of clients that are currently producing dashboards for their internal use, and the time and effort saved having a dashboard with a live connection should not be underestimated. It's certainly very significant. Next slide, please, Ben. Cool. So those are two different options in which this data can be consumed via dashboards. I like to compare the two options here to different ways to preparing a meal. Whereas the e-impact dashboards are like using Uber to get something delivered, the smart data sets and the Snowflake visualization software connections is like buying a make your own meal kit. As you can see, you can make an entire curriculum dashboard, for example, based on that data being brought into your own environment. However, to extend the food metaphor even further, what if you'd like to use the ingredients provided to produce something new and different? Maybe you don't like following the instructions on the meal kit. I know I don't. What about using the Lightcast data to produce a deeper analysis of the labour market? Well, in this case, we suggest using our job feed data via Snowflake to go as deep as possible into the data. Thanks, and next one too. Sorry, I skipped the title slide. As with this tool that our most advanced analysis of the labour market is produced. For example, what we're seeing here is a study very recently published by UNESCO, where our database was used to analyse different trends within the job text of job postings to examine the different factors that are seen as traditionally being supportive of women in the workforce to help address the gender gap. From this cross-country analysis, it appears that Australia is leading the way in offering parental support and flexible working conditions when compared against countries like the US, for example. Going this deep into the data means you can create a whole new set of analysis and draw inferences for things that weren't possible in the past. Next slide, please, Ben. In another study, this time in partnership with BCG, a meta-analysis of skill changes was conducted across job postings to put data-driven insights behind just how fast skills are changing across different occupations. In using our job feeds, it was found that between 2016 and 2021, the average job changed in terms of the skills being sought after by the employers by 37%, whereas the most disruptive job changed by 76%. Just for reference, that most disruptive job was data engineers, which are clearly changing very, very rapidly. The least disruptive job there at 13% from memory was mystery shoppers, which are fairly similar to what they're doing and have continued. These two examples are just the tip of the iceberg of what is possible using our job feed products, and we're more than happy to share further research reports, and there's a really great collection of these that can be found on our website already. Next slide, please. In contrast, our API solutions are the product of choice if you're looking to, and again, extend the food metaphor, open your own restaurant or food service. These solutions enable you to use our data sets as well as the technology that we use to classify the data to make your own product and service. For example, next slide, please. Perhaps you are looking to build a course recommendation platform that is powered by real-time job postings data. Our APIs can be used to code and classify the user's CVs to extract their current skill mix. The current skills and demand for target occupations can be pulled from job postings, and the gap between what a person has and what is required to achieve employment in their target occupation can be filled by the learning material that has also been passed and coded by our skills taxonomy, using that common language to then move between all three junctions. When put together, this can create a scalable, automated career and learning advice platform that delivers personalized recommendations based on real-time market signals. Really, really powerful stuff, and certainly would encourage you to reach out if you are thinking about building out your own suite of products that might use our data and technology. So hopefully you now have a stronger sense of our more advanced product offerings. E-impact dashboards, if you're looking for that quick bite to eat delivered directly. Our smart data sets, if you're looking for a quick meal or would like to cook something yourself. Our job feed products, if you're wanting to dive deeper into the ingredients you're using and make your meal from scratch potentially. And finally, our API products, if you're wanting to dive in and open your own food service. Not sure about you, Ben, but I can feel lunch fast approaching after that extended metaphor. So let's wrap this webinar up. Can you go to the next slide, please, Ben? Thank you. And so what have we learned? Well, Lightcast data comes in many shapes and sizes. It's not just the software, we can do all sorts of things with that data. Institutions and organizations with Lightcast have the opportunity to use data more broadly and across many departments. If you're using it strongly now, I do encourage you to reach out to your colleagues and suggest, hey, have you thought about using this for that analysis? Let's see what we can build together. Lightcast software is an effective tool to accurately model demand for many facets of the labour market. And as we've seen with Ben walking through many examples there is many reports we can dig into and through. Global labour market data can help identify future trends and can certainly help us get ahead of the curve, thinking about what changes are coming down the pipe. Particularly important with the disruption which is ever increasing with things like ChatGPT coming into the mix. And although Lightcast software can generate charts, reports, and graphs, there are many other solutions to power in-depth visualizations, deeper analysis, or to build out your own product for your use. Thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to open the floor up for any questions. If Ben, you could facilitate that, please.
I sure can. Okay, we've had one in. If we are licensed for Labour Insight or Analyst, do we have access to other solutions such as APIs or data feeds?
Yeah, great question. So these are different products and they'll often require a commercial discussion for those. However, we do like to bundle access, so it's not prohibitive. So please reach out to your account manager for that and we can start that conversation.
Brilliant, thank you. Another one, how does Lightcast project future skill demands?
Yeah, great question. So we do that by going back through our database. Our database goes back to 2012 for the APAC region. And we look to see how has that skill behaved across time. We then project that forward. So if there's a projection, not a forecast, just to make that point clear, and we are projecting the growth based on the history of the postings we've observed.
Brilliant. Do APIs and feeds use the same data as Labour Insight?
Yeah, great question. So currently, no. It is a great way to get an advanced look about what is coming in terms of our data improvements and our new pipeline. But further information about that will be released very soon. In the future, say a couple of months' time, that's certainly a yes.
Fantastic. We've had a question from someone from Melbourne University. I'd like to see the case study. So we will provide that in the follow-up. I haven't actually got it in the link within the presentation that we've built, but I will edit it. I will include that and you can click that link and have a look at it. So thank you for that. Another question, if I make a dashboard with Labour Insight data, can I put it up on our public website? So extracting the data via Excel and then building it into maybe a public facing dashboard.
Yeah, great question. So that'll depend on your commercial agreement with us. In general, if it is a static, and again, speaking generalities, not knowing the exact client who's asking this, if it is a static data pool, then sure. However, if it is a dynamic data set, that requires a bit of a commercial conversation as it's making a lot of this data public and it's a commercial product. So reach out to your account manager and we can have a chat about that specific case in question.
Excellent. I think that's all the questions. I'll keep an eye just in case any last ones come through. As I said earlier, everyone will be sharing the recording. and also the slides today. So just keep an eye on your inbox for that coming through. I've built some links here that reference some of the resources and reports that we've covered today if you want to look at them in any more depth or download them. If there's anything that you'd like to discuss or you haven't found in terms of following those links, just get in touch with Daniel or I. We're really happy to talk these through in more detail. We really hope you found the webinar today insightful and left having learned something, and look forward to speaking to you all again soon. So thank you very much again, and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thanks, guys. Ka kite.